Hey y'all, it is your girl Simone. This is another episode of She Looks Like Me. I am super, super excited for today's guest, and I am really excited for our conversation and all the gems I know she is going to drop with us. Today's guest is Jala Eaton, and I am excited to talk with her because she is on a mission to empower Black communities across the nation to build and protect their wealth in non-traditional ways. She seeks to create an inclusive and diverse financial ecosystem where Black women have a safe space to talk about money free of judgment so they can learn to build, invest, and protect their money. As a result of her work, millennials have begun to realize why they should start learning to invest and why they need to begin estate planning as early as age 18. Understanding money will lead to opportunities for minority communities to truly build generational wealth. Hello, that's what we're here for. And giving them the ability to thrive. Prior to making the leap from the cubicles of corporate America, Jala worked as a trust officer, managing the wealth of multimillionaires. She is a writer, professor, award-winning certified trust and fiduciary advisor, and trust and estates attorney in California. You better have all the slashes, Jala, okay?
Yes, all that hard work. My mama and my daddy are like, you need to have it all. Say it all.
I love it. Well, listen, it is going to benefit us, I think, in so many ways. I'm sure you are impacting the lives of your clients on a daily basis. And so before we get into all things estate planning, because there are just so many layers, so we're going to break down as much of it as we can with our time. But before we get into that, I want to know what is bringing you joy these days.
Joy is so important right now. Lately, I've just been being very intentional and stepping back and taking moments to regroup because I'm task oriented. So I like to get stuff done. I like to sit here until I'm done. No, walk away, Jala. The other thing that I've been doing is building Legos with my daughter, like 1,000+ pieces. We do some every night, and we built some amazing like animals and tree houses. And last but not least, because I'm an awkward Black girl, shout out Issa Rae for repping for us for so long. Rhythm didn't come naturally to me, but boxing has been a source of joy because we're boxing to the beat. I get Jay-Z, Nicki, Rihanna, Drake songs, and I'm working out at the same time. So it's been fun and joyful.
Listen, I love that balance, okay? You can get you a little Drake and get your cardio in, get your workout on. How we got here today, I want to talk a little bit about that because I have been on my own personal journey with just my own personal development, self-development, but also really extending it to any and everybody who is willing to catch this wave, right? And for me, that starts with my family. And so some former clients of mine, Brunch and Budget, they do financial planning, affordable financial planning for people of color, which I absolutely love. So definitely check them out. But you guys had an Instagram live session that was like an hour of just straight gas, okay? Like juice after juice after juice. And I've been on my grandparents and my mom and just everybody like, listen, we have to stop playing because there's a lot at stake, And I think sometimes we think, oh, I don't really have that much, or, oh, I don't have enough, so I don't need anything in place, or, oh, I just need to put a will. Let me write something down on a napkin, or, and think that that's sufficient. I know, I look at you. I know you're shaking your head because it's like, this cannot.
Yeah, I hear it all the time.
Before we start breaking down actually how to go about not only maybe having these conversations with family members and what the first steps look like, can I ask you how many phone calls you got on that episode of Insecure when Molly, who is a whole attorney out here, okay, was getting pushback from her parents about their estate planning? And she had to thankfully bring in her friend Kelly, who obviously had the woo-woo magic with her mom that allowed her to do something. So how many phone calls did you get after that episode aired?
Girl, first of all, I was excited to see estate planning on the main stage, targeted at us, because we know we were all watching Insecure, but I was also triggered because you don't mess with mamas. Why it had to be mama? Why? Come on now. But I am glad because that's what we experience. A lot of millennials are realizing our families aren't invincible. We do need to talk about things. We need to have more open conversations. And some of us don't have the parents that are ready for that, but we got to do what we got to do. And it's, like I said, it's great because it's eye-opening. You realize, oh, I'm not alone. Other families are dealing with the same thing. And there is a way. Like you said, she brought in her good sis and they made it happen. But it's hard for a lot of us, but it's doable.
I asked this next question fully aware that what I'm asking is a general statement, but what is that about? Have you had any clients be transparent enough to say, listen, this is why I'm dragging my feet on this, or this is why I don't want to deal with it? I know the idea of our loved ones no longer being with us is a tough thing to think about, but I'm sitting in a place of confusion sometimes and just like actual interest in knowing what the hesitation is around why our parents or our grandparents are having a challenge, I guess, with just taking the steps to do what they need to do to secure their legacy.
It's a lot of things. Like you said, it's an onion. One thing I will say is estate planning isn't really talked about. It's something that was behind, I'll say, like the veil. They only talked about it to the wealthy. It was something you really need to have an attorney for. And a lot of us aren't on a one-on-one basis with an attorney. So there wasn't a lot of education. And we just knew when somebody passed away, okay, well, somehow, some way, people were getting stuff. They were transferring money and it was going somewhere. But we didn't know that wasn't the most effective way. There are plans that you can put in place that you could work with somebody who could help you. So that was one. The education piece is a big thing. And a lot of times, people are thinking, oh, I don't have much, like you said, or they'll figure it out. And you don't realize because you're gone by the time you need these plans or something has happened where you're not mentally able to function enough to know I messed up. Like I really do need to have a plan in place. This is stressing out my family. This is causing them turmoil. I'm losing money. I'm losing my assets, what I've worked so hard and struggled for. It's a cycle and it's cyclical and it takes that one generation to break that curse. And I think the only way that we're going to do it is by having these conversations, being transparent and really just breaking down these money mindsets, because a lot of prior generations, they come from a time where you don't talk about money. They come from like, I've had to just figure it out and you should do, or not transferring on that knowledge. Like, oh yeah, I learned the hard way about this. So let me tell you about this so you don't have to learn that same way. I always tell my clients, because I have a lot of young and youthful clients, and they're always worried about their families, their mother, their father, grandparents. And they're like, what's the best thing that I can do to get them to start estate planning? I always tell them, lead by example. You can't force anybody to do something that they aren't ready to do, but you can educate them. You can show them what you're doing. You can talk about it, and they'll come around. They always do. I don't think most people grasp how much wealth that we lose when we don't have proper plans in place. But that's also why I share a lot of the stories that I share. I actually just did a post on my blog, and I talk about how my grandmother is still fighting for property that has been in her family 100+ years, and she doesn't technically own it, although she's been paying the taxes on it because nobody did their estate planning. And she decided that's going to stop with me, and she's going through the court process to own it.
I know you have probably a laundry list of stories of crazy situations. I think even with me and extending my network and talking to various people and being especially interested in real estate and how messy and quickly messy it could get when you have multiple people involved, when you have multiple heirs involved. Just listen. And we love our parents and our grandparents, baby. But that whole, well, y'all gonna know what to do when it's time rhetoric, I'm like, wait a minute, some people don't get along and y'all alive. So what you think gonna happen when they're not here?
It just gets worse. Like, I hate that. I was like, I'm a child of divorce. I don't want to do family law. That's too messy. And then I pick estate planning, which, you would think it's not that. It is bad. People will fight over anything. That's why I refuse to go to probate court and help people with estates, because by that time, it's too late. You didn't do your documents and have your plan in place so that we can say, I knew grandma wanted this. I don't have to fight with anybody. She said it. It's in this legally enforceable document.
what we're going to do is hopefully provide some helpful steps on how to get started. What does it look like? And I love that you said that in your bio, you're like, listen, this really needs to be something you're talking about as early as 18 or thinking about. And so to your point, it's like, I'm 33 years old. I have a home, a little money in a bank account, little something.
She building. She's doing it.
She's building. She's growing. Okay. For the last few years, I've been kind of trying to nudge my grandparents, like, please, come on. Y'all got a lot on the line. Like, please, let's do something. And have just continued to hit roadblocks. So now I'm officially at the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to start with myself. So what does that look like? Like, I know I reached out to you and unfortunately, sad face, because of the way that law works, you can't be my person. But what does that look like to get started? And to that point, being mindful of where the people that you potentially are wanting to work with or interview or talk with, where they're located versus where you live. And then kind of a little second question to that is, how does it work if there are multiple states involved with things?
Well, where do you start? That's a great question. You inventory. You literally write down what is important to you. Or you, if that's a little harder, because you got to think a little harder and be creative, you write down, what do you have? For example, if I'm writing down what's important to me, I value education. So all of the knowledge that I would want people to know needs to be accessible. It needs to be in my plan. It can be as simple as me telling somebody specifically in my plan, like my daughter, do everything that you can do not to get student loans, because during my lifetime, they were a trap. Nobody understands that, yes, that doesn't cost anything. You're just saying something. But if somebody had given me that advice, they could have saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars, because I would have gotten very creative with how I went to undergrad and law school and how I paid for it. But on the financial side, you can write down what you have and start thinking about what should happen to everything that you have if you had to leave your home abruptly and move to another country and start over, and you can't take anything with you. A lot of people are very adverse to talking about their death and not being here. So this is a good flip side way to say, hey, I got to leave everything that I currently own, manage, and have. What would happen to it? What would I want to happen to it? Does it all just go to Goodwill? Or what do I do with these bank accounts? What do I do with this house? It gets you thinking, and you'll realize you have a lot more that you think you do than you think you do. And you'll start thinking about, oh, well, such and such would benefit from this. And maybe my nieces and nephews need a kickstart. So I'll give them a few $1,000s to go to school, or to build their first business, or for their side hustle, or just to find some joy in their life. How will my pets and my kids be taken care of? How do my bills get paid? Who would be able to log into my email, cancel subscriptions, close my social media? Like, what about my business? So there are a lot of things that stem from your life that may or may not be related to your finances that estate planning kind of takes care of. When it comes to having assets in different states, that gets a little bit more technical. I do have that situation too, whereas I have houses in California, but I also have a house in Florida. And it just meant that I had to subject my house in Florida to my trust in California, because that's where I wanted it to be. But for others, if you have bank accounts, if you have people that you want to manage your assets in different places, if you want different law to apply, it's always good to get an attorney licensed in that state to just give you a consultation to help you figure out if there are any legal issues. It's also good to talk to a CPA, because a lot of the reason why high net worth individuals do estate planning is for tax purposes. So there are a lot of tax reasons that people do their estate planning. For example, you'll see a lot of trust in no tax states, because there are some laws in some states that the trustee, wherever they are, that's where that all your assets are going to be taxed. Even if it's a Florida house or a Georgia house, wherever that trustee is, it's going to be taxed. And if they're in California, there goes a lot of your money. So it's layers, it's an onion. But there are several reasons why we estate plan that are beyond just, okay, I got to figure out what happens to all this stuff. It's a strategy. It's coming up with a plan for everything that you value that's going to be here long after you're gone.
You said something that I want to revisit, because I think as we start to think about, okay, yes, I'm ready to do something, I need to find somebody who can help me do this. Where do you recommend someone start as far as potentially interviewing estate planner or estate attorneys? Who are the people, right? Like you said, CPA, obviously an estate attorney. Are there any other individuals that should be thought of? And then what kind of questions or what should someone be thinking about when they're making the decision, like, this is the person I want to work with?
Usually you'll have maybe a financial advisor, you'll have a CPA, you'll have an attorney if you're getting the full service and all of your needs covered. But for those of us who don't start like that, and I know a lot of us don't, your state always has a list of all licensed attorneys, if that's who you're going to work with, to get your estate planning done. So I always refer clients to the state bar in their actual states. Mm-hmm. I wrote an article about this on the Wealth Best Friend blog because it's very important to me that people understand that they need to interview their estate planning attorney. With all of the form will sites and the tech companies popping up that do estate planning, and they make sure that it's super, super cheap, people don't understand that estate planning is the practice of law. You really have to have a license and go to school and know the background. I wanted to make sure that people had the questions that knew the questions that they should and could be asking when they're interviewing an actual attorney, because it's important that you feel comfortable with that person. That person needs to feel like a bestie, and you need to feel like you can tell them your life story and talk to them about money and all of the gritty details and the family issues, because that helps them tailor and strategize with you. One of the questions I always tell people to ask is, how long have they been practicing estate planning? Because since the pandemic hit, everyone seems to be an estate planner. There's a lot of need for estate planning services. So everybody just switched and like, oh, it's just documents. It seems like it's easy. And they jump into it, not realizing, like I said, there's taxes and there's laws that go into this. And you want to make sure that they have a license, because, like I said, it's the practice of law. And you want to make sure that they're doing it legally. With form will sites, you are taking on the role of an attorney. LegalZoom and Trust and Will, they are not attorneys. They are not giving you legal advice. You are saying, I know enough about the laws, the taxes, and my financial situation that I can do this on my own. And that is the responsibility that you're taking on. And I tell people, these documents, they don't work intuitively. Simple changes in words can make all the difference. May versus shall. If you tell your trustee, you shall do this, that's mandatory. You just tell the trustee, you may do this, they ain't got to do it. It doesn't have to happen. But you're not reading these documents, which can be long and expensive. You don't know that. It's simple things. It's important to interview your attorneys. And I definitely think that even if you work with one of the form will places, have an attorney review it. Tell them your situation and have them do what I do. How does this really work in practice? What's going to happen based on what I've already gotten set up? And then you'll know.
So you say you have a blog that has a list of questions on wealth. Is it wealthbestfriend.com?
It's on myownfinancial.com/blog.
Yes. So go check that out. Definitely, if you're thinking about starting the interview process or just, fielding your options, go check that blog out. So yes, I definitely think picking the right person, finding somebody you're comfortable with, all of those things are really, really important. My other question is, because there's layers to this estate planning thing, right? And because this is our safe space, okay? And this is for us. I'm going to just keep it all the way funky and say that for a very long time in my life, I thought trusts were for rich white people.
Most people do.
The only person I knew until I was like 21 that had a trust was one of my white friends. can we just talk about it? Because of course we've got wills, and then there are a couple different types of trusts, right?
Yeah. But the majority of people just need a revocable trust. And what that means is it's basically you've created an entity that while you're alive, it's active, it does what you want it to do. But after you're gone, you can think of it like a corporation. Ford and all of those, Coca-Cola, they've been around for decades because they're entities. They're not people. They don't die. They move with a set of rules, their bylaws and all of that. Trusts are the same thing. So they will go on as long as the purpose that you've set hasn't been achieved. The minute that that purpose is achieved, it will terminate. It's highly complex, but it's what we need. The only thing is that the access, we haven't had the attorneys, and it was very expensive to do them, to have them drafted. So most people didn't. Most people felt like, you know what, I'll just take a will and they'll figure it out in probate court. Like I tell everybody, you spend the few $1,000s now, and believe me, you'll save on the back end, because with probate comes, at least in my state, statutory fees. You invite an attorney to help you with a probate matter, they could get a percentage of your estate. What you going to do, a flat fee, or are you giving up a percentage?
Right. Okay. To that point, can we just talk about, I know the answer to this question, but I'm asking it like I don't know the answer. Is a will enough?
You get the attorney's answer. It depends. It depends on the person and the situation, but usually it's not, mainly because it subjects you to probate court. No matter what, you're going. And I think the only reason most people do just the will is because they either think trust are for people that don't look like us, or they don't financially see a reason to do it. But wills, like I said, you're going to end up in probate court. That means TMZ and the rest of the world will know exactly what you have and who it goes to. And court is expensive and time consuming. So you can Google the estate of Prince, who passed away 6 years ago and still has $156 million tied up in probate court.
Are fees continuing to rack up at the point that this is tied up?
Oh, just because it's tied up and the beneficiaries haven't gotten paid doesn't mean that the court, that the IRS, that the attorneys, that the trust administrators haven't got paid. They've gotten their money. They are getting paid every month on schedule.
Can you just touch on a couple of the ways in which things, or why things are held up in probate? Because I know, like, even with my family, just really quickly, I'll share that my family has had to deal with some things related to people who have debt, outstanding debt. These people want to get paid. I don't know what the official terminology is, but whoever they owed have done their due diligence to submit the documentation to say we are owed money, and the government is coming to collect that money, and things can't move, right? Properties can't move. Things can't be sold because there's this debt out there. So can you just touch a little bit about probate court and how things get held up there?
There's a notice period. So like I said, TMZ and the rest of the world are going to know exactly what you have. So will your creditors. Anybody that you owed and anybody who can make a claim, just, oh yeah, she said she was going to give me 100,000 when she goes. Anybody can make a claim, and that holds up the probate, because there's a notice period that you have to give the world to say, hey, this person is gone. This person had assets. If you owe, you need to make this claim now. And people do. And the court has to vet all of these claims. And then it's, okay, well, we have a lot of real estate in the Black community, but we're not really liquid. We don't have assets. So when the creditors come, they want their money. They've made that claim. The court says it's valid. Where's the money coming from? Because the house isn't going to give you money. So a lot of us end up having to sell the property just to pay off the debts. Whereas with a trust, it's private. You don't have that notice period. You don't have the publication to the world that, oh, there was money in this estate. This person died and they own something. No, it's private. It's transferred based on whatever that person said in their trust. We've made it very rigid in the estate planning community that you have to have real estate or a child or something to benefit from a trust. And that's not true, because as you see in your situation, having to deal with creditors, having to deal with an estate gets very complex, time consuming, and expensive. And it doesn't have to be. There are other ways and strategies that we can use to avoid all that.
Yes, Lord. So I hope y'all heard that. If you only have a will, okay, you're going to probate court, and everybody involved that has anything going on out here in the world is going to have you tied up, okay? You said it, but I kind of want to reiterate it. So a will, right? That's public record. So literally anybody can look at your will and all the things that you're trying to assign to people or whatever you want to happen in that will. Anybody can look that up, correct?
Yep. It's public document. They can get it from now to the end of time. There's no restrictions on it. And another side to that, and the reason why we need more estate planning education, in my grandmother's situation, like I told you with the real estate in her family that she's currently buying back, essentially, a lot of people passed on thinking that they didn't need to have a plan, that, it would get worked out, the heirs would get it or whatever. But when you don't take that will to the courts and clear up the title and say, hey, I'm the new owner of it, or I'm an heir to this property, so that they can clear the title, you end up in her situation where 100 years after the property was bought, there are now potentially 70 plus heirs, people who could have an interest to this one piece of property, because every time somebody dies and they have kids or they have a spouse, that's another person added to this property that doesn't have a clear, it was supposed to go to this person because I said that in my will or I said that in my trust. And now everybody gets an interest. So you don't want to leave it without having a plan, because if your family doesn't know what they need to do on their end, then it just gets even worse. Sadly, there's a wonderful documentary. I'll have to find the name of it, but it's essentially called Heirs Property. And it's about how a lot of Black families have lost real estate because so many people inherited the property, didn't take care of it, didn't have a plan, didn't do their estate planning. And of course, other buyers came in and caught them when they weren't paying the taxes on it and bought it from up under them. They didn't even know they had lost the property.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. I actually sat in on a tax lien workshop. They talked about how easily and for how little people are losing homes. You're talking about people who are $50 in some cases. Now, not all of them, but in some cases, $50, couple $100. You lost an entire piece of property because of just lack of communication and lack of planning. You touched on a word that I kind of just want to spend 2.5 seconds or minutes on, which was heirs. Okay. And the designation of and heirs. Does that ever stop?
Let's get to the point where we don't have heirs, we have beneficiaries, because that means that we have done our planning. That means we have stated, this is who I want to get my property, my assets, my knowledge, my legacy. This is who I want to carry it on. Heirs is all about the law. It's a function of your state's laws. It could be spouses, it could be children, it could be anybody who is in some way related to you. And that's how you got that, I got some money from my distant great uncle this, instead of I know exactly where this came from. It was passed down to me from generation to generation via this trust, and I am a beneficiary of it.
Absolutely. Because does and heirs ever end?
No. Every time somebody has a kid, you got a new heir. Every time somebody gets married, you got a new heir. Like, as long as you have somebody that is related to you from some distant relationship, heirs.
So we clearly know that trust is the way to go. Revocable trust specifically is, I believe, the suggestion at this point. So let's talk about that, because listen, I know for a lot of us listening, the issue of control is really, I think, at the core of that onion. Our parents and our grandparents' fear of loss of control in their lifetime. So can you talk a little bit about revocable trust and how you don't lose your control over your assets?
While you are the trustee of your revocable trust, and I have to use terminology, the grantor, the person who created the trust, is always in control. If they did a revocable trust, that means you can make changes at any time, at any whim, however often you would like to. You are the person that made this agreement initially. And most of the time with a revocable trust, the grantor is also the trustee who is also the beneficiary. It's the same person. If I create a trust today, that is my trust. I am in control of it as trustee. I manage the assets as trustee, and I am also the beneficiary. Like, I can get whatever this trust has to give. I can give myself.
I love it.
It's really more about when you pass away that it becomes its own entity and it controls via the trustee that you leave in charge those assets that you leave. But while you were alive, that trust is you. That trust is taxed under you, and you want that. Because if you were to create an irrevocable trust, which is what I think a lot of people are thinking about when they're saying, oh, but a trust, I lose control. With an irrevocable trust, yes, you do lose control. You are not the trustee. You have said, I'm creating this trust and I don't want to be able to change it. And this is going to be a totally separate, wholly separate entity outside of me. It has its own tax ID. It has its own tax like structure. It pays its own taxes. That's way more complex than most people need to start with. Most people just need, we're planning for when I'm not here, and this is about my legacy. You can do irrevocable trust, but that's you really need to talk to an attorney if you're thinking that that's something that you need.
And so just for the sake, because we didn't, and I probably should have asked this at the beginning, but we didn't really break down the terminology. So let's talk about trustee, beneficiary, grantor, and any other terms that we should, I mean, there's so many terms, right? But just the just starting level, what is a trustee?
That's the main problem with the financial services industry and the legal industry. They like making complex terms to try and make people feel like, oh, I better get help with this. I don't know this, so I'm going to shy away from it. Executor, trustee, all of the terms, they're synonymous with jobs, essentially. And that's the one thing that I do want people to know. When you are appointing somebody as an executor or as a trustee, you are giving them a job. And it is a lot of work. There are a lot of people and banks who take on this job and get paid a lot of money. So you want to have somebody who is capable of taking on these responsibilities because there are legal requirements. And if you breach those duties, that person is in trouble. But grantor, settlor, those are all terms for somebody who creates the agreement. You create the trust, you create the will, testator. It's a lot of synonymous terms to say the same thing.
They're trying to trip us up. Don't be trying to trip us up, legal system.
Trustee and executor are terms for somebody who manages and is in control of assets left behind or left in trust or left via will. And beneficiary, I don't know if there's real legalese terms for them, but you don't hear them anymore. So I'll stick with beneficiary. I can't think of, and those are normally used synonymously with wills and trusts, is just somebody that you've given property, assets, something in your will or trust to. Way more terms, but I think those are the basics.
You talked a little bit about it earlier, but because I like to get in the nitty gritty of it, right? Because I think also when we think of trust, we think that's too expensive. That's a lot of money. Like, I'm going to just, matter of fact, I'm going to go on Word right now. I'm going to type up all my stuff and we're going to sign it. We're going to take it to the notary. And that's that. That's our will.
The only thing that I'd recommend if you do that, I'm all for it. Okay, DIY it. I'm all for it. I need you to read the probate code in your state. If you're willing to do that, then you go ahead, do that DIY, because then you make sure that you're complying with all the terms. And I say that as somebody who, my own family member did that. I was like, okay, now let's read your will and let's figure it out if it complies. And what they didn't know was they had, in the beginning of their will, given away everything. everything to this person. And then they went about giving out gifts. So I want this jewelry to go to this person, a totally different person. You just contradicted yourself, and you were going to keep everybody in probate court arguing about what your intent was. You gave away everything, and now you're giving away gifts. There's nothing left to give. So then people who thinking, hey, but she specifically said, I get this, are going to be like, so why am I not getting this? I'm going to fight this. Let's tie it up because she shouldn't get everything, even though it says she should, because I mentioned in there. That was just one issue on top of a few of them. She had the wrong type of witnesses. In our statutes, you have to have disinterested witnesses. You have to have two of them. She had tried to type her will. And if you type your will, there are other requirements that you can't get away with. It's an invalid will if you don't do these other things. So that's why I say you got to be willing to read the probate code so you know that you are complying and have a valid and enforceable document.
Or, okay, you can hire a professional and make today's investment to save your family heartache and headache tomorrow. And I remember you saying, if I'm not mistaken, I think you said when you did the interview with Brunch and Budget, that you are, by creating estate planning and really the trust more than anything, you're ensuring your family has the ability to grieve properly.
Give them peace of mind. The worst thing in the world is to have to sit back and think, what would they have wanted me to do? What am I supposed to do? Like, I just, instead of, okay, we have a plan. This is what they said. I'm doing that. Now I can vote. I can't believe you're gone. How are you gone? Instead of, oh crap, I got to go to court. The creditor's going to be after it. It was supposed to go to this person. It's just nice to be able to have some peace knowing that this is exactly what that person wanted. And we will carry on. We will do in honor of that.
So pricing wise, and I know, again, another general question, but what could somebody expect, right? Because some people might can get sticker shock and, but at the same time, I also don't think that the prices are so outrageous. Like, we're not talking about, in most cases, we're not talking about 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, but maybe depending on how many, I'm imagining it's based on like assets and how complicated it is, but pricing wise, what should somebody expect?
I would expect anywhere from $1,500 to, I've seen it go maybe $6,000, $7,000. But like you said, it depends on who you're working with, where you are. I've been told by the estate planning council in California that the average for a trust is like $5,000. Now, I'm kind of a boutique firms, and I'm very passionate about this. So I don't just do trusts. When you work with me, I don't want to see, oh yeah, I got my trust and have nothing else. Like, there are a whole bunch of other documents that I need you to have. So when you do a trust with me, you also get the pour over will. You also get the advance directive. You also get the financial power of attorney, because I want you to have a complete estate plan versus I got what I could afford in the moment and I'll be back for the other ones. You ain't coming back.
You said health directive, and I don't know if you saw that movie on Netflix. I cannot think of the name of it. It is missing me now. But maybe it was like I Care or something like that. I don't know. All I know was this Caucasian lady was out here swindling the elders, okay, getting them institutionalized and taking all of their assets. I was like, oh my God, no, please, Lord, no. But that's a very real thing, right?
Yes. Elder abuse is a huge, huge situation and problem in our nation. And yes, they are able to do it. One, because people aren't talking about money and trusting their families enough. And they don't know about these documents. They don't know how serious it is when you don't have them. They don't know how serious it is when you don't understand them. So that's another reason why with my clients, I am very intentional. If I'm going to work with you, you have to commit to, we are going to read and edit these documents together. I actually send video walkthroughs so that it's on their time. They don't have to just hear me rambling at them at a meeting. No, you listen to this, you have access to the documents whenever you are ready, and you ask questions. and it's flat fees. So I don't have to worry about, oh, this question is going to cost me so much money I don't want to ask. No, everything is already included. Ask these questions. I need you to understand these documents. I need you to know what they say so that, you're not coming into somebody's office. Yeah, I think I got a trust. I don't know what it does. I don't know how it works, but I got one.
I love that. I'm so glad that you include all of that. And that's something I definitely think of. Now, do you have anywhere on the blog the list of documents that need to be considered?
Definitely talk about that. Try and talk about it in at least all of my posts. But yes, I talk about all 4 documents and a few others on the blog periodically. I don't want to beat people over the head with it, but I do.
You need a little beating right now, just a little baby beating, okay?
I try and do it in a fun, upbeat way. So my blog post about Kobe is about trust. My blog post about Chadwick Boseman is about wills. So, and my next blog about Wendy Williams is going to be about the conservatorships and having financial power of attorneys and healthcare power of attorneys. So I try, I mix it in there.
I know. I love that. No, because we need real life examples. Like, the case of Prince. What was it? Aretha Franklin. I mean, the list just goes on. And you like, these people had all this stuff. And
it's like, you don't hear as much about people who don't look like us having these same issues. They do, but it's us. And I'm like, no, we can do this. We just need to know. We know better. We can do better.
My hope is that even if somebody listening, they don't feel quite comfortable having the conversation, maybe they just put this in the background in the car with your mom or your grandma. And, eventually, they like to tune. They're real good at tuning stuff out. Okay. They're real good at hearing, tapping into the conversations they want to or not. But after a few minutes, hopefully, maybe they'll engage with this episode and be like, what are they talking about? I might need to listen to that. So that was my goal for today. So hopefully we did that. And I just want to know, I want to know, but I want to know for the people, Jayla, are you taking new clients? And if you are taking new clients, where do they have to be?
I am taking on new estate planning clients in California, or that you have property in California that you want to be subjected to California law. Like I said, really want to learn this stuff. I'm always talking about this stuff on social media and on my own financial. And I'm actually teaching estate planning this semester at a university here. So the passion is real. And when I'm not helping people protect their wealth and whatever they define that to be, I'm helping clients all over the country build their wealth through financial planning. So I can work with you on financial planning wherever you are, estate planning, Cali, and more Cali.
I love it. And so how can people keep up with you? Where can they find you? And also, do you have anything exciting coming up? Any dope events, virtual or otherwise, that we need to be hopping in on and registering for?
You can always find me at On My Own Financial. I am there on live every Monday for Money Mondays. That's been my standing thing, where we just talk about all things wealth, because I'm your wealth best friend. I want people to be able to talk about money. Like I said, no guilt, no nothing. We're upbeat, and just topics that you haven't heard about, aren't thinking about before you learn the hard way. So that's where I always am. Lately, the teaching and the 2 businesses has kept me super, super busy. So I don't have any events. I'm doing more speaking, more articles lately. And that's my happy place. It really is, because it's educating.
Yes. Well, I want everybody to be in their happy place, because when we're in our happy place, we operate just with joy and we are our best selves. So I love it. Listen, don't do anything extra. I don't want you to overextend yourself, honey, because we need all this melanin magic to help us get through this financial planning, to get through this estate planning. And I just appreciate you so much today. And I'm so grateful for your pouring into us. Definitely, y'all check out is it On My Own or Own My Own?
Oh, yeah. That's how most Black people start. Most Black women start, on our own financial. So that's why my business is called that.
I love it. Listen, y'all definitely check it out. I will put additional information in the description. And of course, I do my little summary wind down afterwards. So I'll definitely share those deets with y'all. But definitely check out Jayla, follow her. Watch Money Mondays on Instagram Live. And Jayla, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Happy to be here.
Jayla, thank you so much for spending a little of your time with us to drop gems and share information on what it looks like to begin protecting the assets and legacies of our families through wills and trusts. Estate planning is not an easy thing to wrap our heads around, especially thinking about our loved ones no longer being with us, and especially when this is something that has typically been looked at as something that only the uber elite does or only the uber wealthy has to do. But if we can help even one Black family have that important conversation to get things in order, to get things in writing, to make sure our elders' hard work is protected and that future generations of those we love are properly taken care of, then we have done what we came to do. Y'all be sure to follow Jayla's brand, Own My Own Financial, on social, where she regularly shares helpful tips like the ones you've heard today. I appreciate you so much for tuning in. This is She Looks Like Me.